Today we delve into a fascinating topic that touches everyone at some point in life, the myth of perfect love and why timing is overrated. Stay tuned. Let's dive deep into a concept that often causes us more frustration than satisfaction. The quest for perfect love at the right moment. Have you ever stopped to think if we are conditioning our emotions to an unattainable standard? Or worse, are we sabotaging ourselves by expecting the ideal scenario to happen in the blink of an eye? Imagine for a moment, how many times have you wondered if that person who seemed so right was actually the perfect one? Or was it that the timing was always off? This silent but persistent doubt arises in all of us, especially when we look around and see fairy tale stories sold as absolute truth. Does real life really work that way? That's what we're going to uncover together today. Stay with me, because this conversation will transform the way you view your relationships. By the way, think about it. Does perfection in love actually exist, or is it just another unrealistic expectation we carry without even realizing it? And if it does, how can we learn to live more authentically, embracing the unpredictability of life without letting it affect our desire for connection? That's the invitation today. Let's reflect together, because the answer may be quite different from what you expect. The idea of perfect love has always been present in the stories we've heard since childhood. Movies, books, and even social media create a narrative that true love arises at the exact moment between two people who seem to be made for each other. It's a romanticized view, where everything seems to fit magically, as if destiny is controlling every step. But in practice, does this really reflect what we experience? Many find themselves waiting for this ideal scenario, forgetting that real love involves challenges, imperfections, and often arrives at the least expected moments. The right moment is another concept that leads us to believe we must wait for ideal conditions for love to happen. The truth, however, is that life rarely follows this script. We are always seeking stability, success, or the moment when we feel ready, without realizing that these conditions are a mirage. The idealization of timing leads many to postpone or even miss great opportunities for connection, simply because they believe it's not the right time yet. And this, of course, shapes our expectations in a dangerous way. Waiting for perfection prevents us from living what is authentic. We end up creating a mental image of what the relationship should be, comparing our experiences to an illusory idea that will never be achieved. How many love stories could have happened if it weren't for the expectation that everything needs to be perfectly aligned? Perhaps what we really need is to rethink this idealized view and embrace the unexpected. Each person's life follows its own rhythm, and this directly impacts how we connect with others. We are not always at the same stage of life as our partners, and this can create challenges. Imagine, for example, two people meeting. One is focused on their career, while the other seeks emotional stability. This mismatch in timing is common, but instead of being an obstacle, it can be an opportunity for mutual growth. The important thing is to understand that love does not need to arise in an ideal phase, but rather at the moment when genuine connections occur. Self-awareness is a powerful tool for dealing with the fact that perfect timing rarely exists. Instead of waiting for life to align, it's crucial to understand who we are and what we truly want. When a person knows their own priorities and values, they can better handle the fact that love may appear in unexpected ways. Many relationships that began in seemingly unfavorable situations ended up becoming great stories of partnership and overcoming, precisely because perfect timing was replaced by the desire to make it work. There are countless examples of couples who, even amidst personal or professional crises, managed to build something solid. Think of someone who started a relationship during a tough phase in life, perhaps facing financial or health issues. What seemed to be an imperfect moment became the foundation for a relationship full of resilience and companionship. These examples show us that often, timing matters less than the willingness to face challenges together. When love doesn't arise the way we idealize, the feeling of frustration can be overwhelming. The sensation that something is missing, or that the relationship we have doesn't match what we so eagerly anticipated, can create significant emotional discomfort. Many people feel as if they've failed in some way when, in reality, the mistake lies in placing unrealistic expectations on how love should manifest. This quest for perfection often blinds us to the beauty of real connections, with all their imperfections and nuances. This frustration only amplifies when we start comparing ourselves to others. Social media, in particular, fuels this feeling of inadequacy. We see couples appearing to have a perfect life, full of happiness and special moments, which can make us feel even more out of place. What we don't realize is that these images are carefully curated, showing only the best moments. This leads us to believe that we are missing out on something when, in fact, each relationship is unique and has its own rhythm and dynamics. In light of this reality, the healthiest path is to focus on personal and emotional development. Instead of endlessly seeking an external ideal, it's important to invest in ourselves, cultivating authenticity and acceptance. This doesn't mean we should give up our desire for a meaningful relationship, but rather that we should adjust our expectations, understanding that true growth comes from within. When we are authentic, we attract more genuine connections, and frustration diminishes, giving way to a fuller and truer, loving experience. Accepting that perfect love is an illusory construct is the first step in adjusting our expectations. Instead of searching for a flawless person or moment, we should embrace the idea that imperfection is a natural part of life. When we accept that love can blossom amidst uncertainties and imperfections, we open space for a deeper and more real connection. The true challenge lies in learning to appreciate the nuances that arise in everyday relationships, where authenticity surpasses idealization. Patience and resilience are essential qualities for building a healthy relationship. It's not just about waiting for love to emerge, but about cultivating the ability to deal with the challenges that arise along the way. Relationships require work, dedication, and, above all, emotional flexibility. Instead of giving up in the face of obstacles, we must learn to navigate through them, knowing that growth happens in difficulties. Practicing resilience means understanding that things don't always go as planned, but that doesn't mean they can't result in something beautiful. Ultimately, living in the present is essential. By focusing too much on what may happen in the future, we miss out on the opportunities right in front of us. Instead of waiting for the ideal moment or the perfect person, we should allow ourselves to be present in the connections that arise now. This helps us build more authentic relationships, where spontaneity and the moment experienced are valued more than any future idealization. Love doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It flourishes when we allow it here and now. Here, we've reached the end of this journey, and it's important to remember the key points we discussed. The concept of perfect love and idealized timing often deceives us, leading us to seek something that may never arrive. However, by accepting that true love manifests in imperfections and unexpected moments, we can live more authentic and meaningful relationships. Self-awareness, patience, and the willingness to live in the present are essential pillars for adjusting our expectations and thus finding love in a more realistic way. Perhaps the most powerful lesson we can take from this is that perfect love is not the one that emerges in the ideal scenario, but rather the one that challenges us to grow and accept life with all its imperfections. If we are always waiting for something to align perfectly, we end up missing the opportunities surrounding us now. So how about we start looking at love in a more open, human, and less idealized way? Now, it's your turn. Share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. What has been the biggest challenge you faced when your expectations didn't match reality? And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep following this content that aims to transform the way you see relationships and life.